What's up, everyone? Welcome to the last lesson of this Mediterranean chapter. Today we are bringing this image home once again. We'll use Firefly to change our image from this to this. In this particular lesson, I'm not gonna lie, Firefly wasn't cooperating with us as much as we'd like, but that's fine. We'll show the full process as honest as we can be. Like with anything with AI, there's some back and forth, but most importantly, you will learn what to do when things just go wrong. You definitely should be familiar with this approach, and of course, as we go, we'll share some tips and tricks about what works and what doesn't, so let's get at it. This whole process took about 40 minutes in total. You can estimate about 15 minutes per person. That's because our models are totally far-fetched, and that's the whole point of it. With a little bit of effort, you can reshape anything into everything. Okay then, I'll run this whole thing and explain different techniques and my thinking process as I go. This is our starting position, and from this point on, we'll use Firefly to generate everything. This time we start with the hands that are slicing bread. Last time it was a bit problematic, so let's see how Firefly deals with that. I'm using prompts as simple as male hands cutting bread. And quite quickly we get pretty decent iterations. Quite unexpected, but we'll take it. It's a solid position to work on it later. So we'll leave these hands for now and focus on a shirt. This time I'll type white linen men's shirt with rolled up sleeves. We'll see if we can get lucky again. Unfortunately, it doesn't work great at first. We'll lose the character outline, but that's fine. In that situation, the next thing to do is to decrease the selection. We'll keep the outer parts of the body outside. That will be our anchor for further generations. And after 2-3 attempts, we try a different approach. Even though the character outline remains the same, we are not getting a shirt, let alone a rolled up sleeve. So we opt to do short sleeves first and transform them to long sleeves later. We'll remove the shoulders from the selection. The smaller the area, the more chances we'll have. And there was one generation that was kind of okay, but I'll try something else actually. I'll remove the color out of selection and modify the prompts a little bit. I will add buttons and color to them. This sort of selection adjustment is very powerful if you are not getting the desired generation. We need to give more anchoring to Firefly to let it work. Leave some parts outside the selection. We are going through a few iterations and finally we are able to choose something that works. This one is actually a great base to continue generating. This is the foothold that we needed. Now we can get back to the rolled up sleeves. Again, I will use the prompt, rolled up sleeve, and see what we can get. Firefly is giving us a hard time with generation, so we need to switch gears. We take the brush and sketch it out. We draw the raw outline as we'd like it to be. We can guide Firefly even more. That's always an option, and that worked for us every time so far. We are moving them down a bit. Didn't realize it was too high. Now, finally, Firefly is starting to catch on. We adjust the hand to make it less twisted, thicker and more masculine. As you can see, we get many iterations. Most often than not, we extract just a part of it, hand or the sleeve, and put it together. Sometimes this process can take a bit longer. The fact that our input was so far-fetched doesn't help, but that's the whole point of this lesson. Even with something ridiculously low quality, you can get there. And this lesson was recorded about 8 months ago, and Firefly already got a whole lot better. Soon enough, we are almost there. A couple of additional small fixes on the shirt. We help ourselves by drawing elements again, and step by step we change more and more of this person. The more we have, the easier it is to generate additional parts. I think the hardest part is starting, finding that one good point. Once you have that foothold, it gets easier and easier. Next up, we shift our focus to the head. And it's going to be a challenge. We want to turn a female into a male.
even though we don't expect it to work. Sometimes we might get lucky, but it wasn't this time. So again, we reduce the selection to set a different boundary condition. It should anchor the generation a bit. And we get something pretty wild. Not gonna lie, sometimes it can get ridiculous, and honestly, we absolutely love it. Makes this whole process so much more fun when shit like this happens. And just by leaving a few gaps on the cheek, we provide enough edge information to start somewhere. This is the same as what we did earlier with the torso. We just move piece by piece, and although it may look absurd at times, it just works. We keep pushing it further until we get a result that works. We use prompts as simple as just typing neck, eye, or something like this. I even tried to put handsome in some of these generations, but I'm not sure that really helped. And again, after we get that initial foothold, we can build on top of it. We can get the neck, we can improve the head. We'll work on the hair and the eyes, which you'll see in a moment. This is an extreme changeover, and that's the whole point of it. We spend an extremely short time in 3D just to reshape the character in post. It definitely requires to silence your inner 3D voice, but what matters is, it just works. In the future, all the generative fields will work even better, but that lesson in particular is to get you more familiar with different ways to control it. You can guide with brushes, you can enter prompts, you can change selection areas. Try a couple of times and done. Eventually you'll get there. Eventually we are done with the head. We also fixed the leg. This part is a bit annoying because everything is blocking it, but we brushed it up a little bit and overall it went fairly smoothly. I'm adding a bit of a brown color and I'm using the multiply blending mode as well. I hope Firefly would generate a hint of brown leather shoe. Beautiful, that went fairly well. Now the man is done, we can move on to the girl. We expect some back and forth with this one. It's an extremely tricky position, neither natural nor obvious, but we're up for a challenge. So first, we changed her outfit to a dress. And first off, our selection area is pretty wide. We'll go through a couple of iterations and see what it gives us. We don't care about the legs at the moment, but want to get a head start for the dress. At some point we find a part that fits, even though most of the dress is useless. So we try to erase parts we don't like and build it up from there. We try to generate a part of the dress that would fall over the legs. And again, piece by piece, we can get there. After we are done with the dress, we improve the legs. And here we immediately draw something that looks like skin. This should be way easier for AI to create something actually resembling a skin. We get many different iterations. We get stockings, leggings, some strange shoes. At some point we get a knee, and that's a big win for us. It's enough to move forward. We fix the calf, and once we have this part, the rest becomes easier. Moving on, we focus on the dress and leg again. And here I want to point out one thing. We can actually do any sort of Photoshop transform to the dress, adjust it to our needs. There will always be creative upscalers at the end of the day, and they will fix any small inconsistencies later on. Use anything you like as long as it moves you forward. And we are slowly bringing this transformation home. We need to generate the second leg. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a clear vision of how to approach it. At this moment I just make a big selection and type kneeling, hoping to get that head start again. You'll see me going through a couple of different iterations, essentially just looking for a happy accident. And after a couple of attempts, I got exactly what I needed. I got another shoe. That's a big win. I don't have the leg yet, but it shouldn't be an issue. We can paint something in, just like we did a couple of times, and I'm pretty confident about it at this stage. And at this point, we are almost done. It wasn't that bad. Last thing is the head. We want to make a braid, and overall it's quite an easy process. We also considered having a ribbon in her hair, and actually we got something fairly quickly, But the thing is that it doesn't work compositionally. It's super saturated and grabbing too much attention, so we decided to remove it and get the rest of her head done. Beautiful. At this point, we are ready to do the upscale in Magnific. We just exported the crops, used the usual +3 creativity and -1 HDR. We have a realistic dog. It's pretty nice, but something strange is happening to its face. What's even worse, it's biting a hand. This is not kind of a storytelling we are going for, so we'll mask that out now. Next, we upscale the girl. We use the prompt saying that the girl is feeding the dog. We get a lot of good things we can implement. But as you can see, there's a ton of different hallucinations as well. This is the dog part of the prompt, but we don't worry about it. We'll just use the parts with the girl. The difference before and after is quite huge. We obviously improved the guy. We refined this guy in terms of fidelity and detail. This is a huge gain. Same as before, we just take what Magnific gave us and blend it in. Finally, we are fixing any unnecessary creases and wrinkles with Firefly. Just small fixes. At this point we thought we are done, but after a closer look, we thought that there's one thing that we could change. And even though that might seem like a huge change, it's not really. What we did next was this. We figured that this image would benefit from some additional breathing space from the bottom. And yeah, we just re-rendered that part, extended the frame, and that was it. That's the final image.
We made it, and honestly it wasn't that bad. So a couple of final words. Even though we started with an extremely poor base, we still reached the goal. Sure, there was some back and forth, but most importantly, lessons were learned. Now you know exactly what to do when things go wrong. Sweet. And that wraps up this chapter, and plenty more is ahead, so see you in the next one.